Hello again. Welcome to the fourth video in my IELTS speaking course on behalf of Gate English Training School. Just a reminder, my name is Gavin. For those of you that have forgotten already or can't read the screen there, it does feel a bit strange for me because I'm basically recording my fourth video in a row this morning. So I don't know if I'm repeating myself too much or too little. So today's video, we're going to focus on a couple of different things. I'm going to talk to you about the length of answer for your questions, as well as look at the key parts that you need to put in every answer of your IELTS questions. We're also going to look at the starting structure and using grammar to start your answers and looking at the grammar from the question and how we should be using that grammar in our answer. So let's get started, first of all, with one of the most ridiculous questions that many students ask me. How long should my answer be, or how long is a good answer? I would usually reply with the famous English phrase, how long is a piece of string? And if you're not familiar, a piece of string can be any length. That's the point. There is no answer to that question. A piece of string is exactly the length you need it to be. And that's the answer to this question. Your answer should be as long as the answer should be. That might not help you, but essentially the key is efficiency. Efficiency is much more important than overall total length. So if somebody says to you, what is your name? I'm going to say, my name is Gavin. Or I'm Gavin. I'm not going to say, well, my name is Gavin, and I also have two other names, my middle name, which is Stuart, as well as my surname, Scott. Now, the Scott name, that's not answering the question. That's not necessary. It's a waste of everybody's time. Okay, so regardless of what the question is, you need to be thinking to yourself, for this question, how much information goes into a good answer? Alrighty, so let's have a think about that. Answer correctly as well. So stay on topic, answer the question, don't waste time. If you do all of these things, your answer is probably going to be a pretty good length. Pardon me. So let's have a look at a few questions. Where are you from? China. Too short. I come from the seaside city of Weihai, which is in the northeast part of Shandong province, a province in the east of China, across from South Korea. It is a beautiful seaside city that has many beaches and wonderful environment. Too long. So, if you just say I'm from Weihai, that's a perfectly okay answer. You can add a little bit more information, but you do not want to add a large amount of extra information. Okay, let's have a look at a different kind of question. So again, one question, I come from Weihai in the east of Shandong province. That's like 3 seconds long, that answer. That's a good length. That's a very good length of answer for that question. What kind of music do you like to listen to? I like to listen to ska music. I want to go 2 second answer. Not a bad answer, but it could probably be a little bit longer. So I like to listen to many different kinds of music, but my favorite music is ska because I like the energy and rhythm, but I also like to listen to funk, rock, reggae, blues, and jazz. Okay, that was about a 10-second or 12-second answer. Again, for that question, that's a very good length. If I start going a lot longer for that question, it's not going to be very good. Now, it's not just the length of answer. It's also the fluency. So if I say that same answer in a different way, I like many different kinds of music. My favorite music is ska music because I like the energy and it makes me feel good. But I like other music as well, like I like funk and punk and rock music too. That was 30 seconds. So I pretty much said the same answers, 12 seconds, 30 seconds. So fluency is always the number one thing. You need to speak your answer fluently without stopping too much. If you do this, you're going to have a pretty good answer. Yeah. So what a lot of people, when they end up speaking for 30 seconds or 50 seconds or over a minute, normally it's because you're not speaking fluently enough. If you speak at my level of fluency, which would be basically native English speaker, level 9 for fluency, you're going to be speaking generally twice as fast as most students, especially Chinese students that are aiming at 6s and 7s. Okay, so I'm speaking much faster. I can say an answer in less than 15 seconds that will take you 30 seconds. So you want to try and get that speed and fluency up. Let's look at another question here. Do you prefer to eat out or at home? Now, again, you have a comparative question, so you have a couple of things to cover. So I prefer to eat home most of the time because I like cooking and I enjoy preparing different meals. But there are times I like to eat out, usually 2 or 3 times a week because it's more convenient for meeting up with friends. Again, that's about 20 to 22 seconds, that answer. And again, that's a good length of answer. I've said most of the time I prefer this. I've said I've also don't mind this sometimes. Let's also, don't say you like them both equally. Generally, there's one that you prefer more, even if you like both of them there. So again, when we're talking about the length of answer, you'll see generally in these part 1 questions I'm talking about, we're looking at anything from like 3 seconds, 4 seconds, up to 25 to 30 seconds. But again, what matters more is that the answer and information you're putting in is relevant. Okay, I'm going to do one more thing. So saying relevant and efficient. So say that last question again. Do you prefer to eat out or at home? If you're saying, oh, I love to eat out at restaurants, especially when it is my birthday and I have lots of friends there. And when I have lots of friends coming to my home, coming to the restaurant, and we are all talking and drinking together, and there is some delicious food, I can have the happiest of times and I can really feel joyful. So there are many times when I go out to restaurants during the year and have wonderful times with my friends, and it is happy. I prefer to eat out. Again, you got confused, you're going off topic, you're repeating yourself, you're sounding like lost, you're maybe, well, I'm probably not really making many grammar mistakes there. I tried to sound a little bit strange, but that's not a good answer. You need to be organized. That same answer could be much more organized. I prefer to eat out at restaurants because you can have a really exciting time with my friends, especially if like a birthday party or a special event when we're all drinking together and sharing stories. And often you have a really good quality food that I can't cook as well at home myself. Same kind of answer, but much more efficient there. Okay, so for every question you get asked, first thing you need to think, what is this question asking me, and what do I need to say to have a good answer? That's more important than thinking about the time. Okay, so one piece of advice I give all of my students is that for every question in both parts 1 and part 3, there's 2 things you need to do. The very basic answer to the question, and then the extra information. If you do these 2 things, you're generally going to get a pretty good score to start with. So let's have a look at what I mean by that, by the basic answer and the extra information. So where are you from? I come from Yantai. That is the basic information. I come from Yantai, which is a coastal city a few hours north of Qingdao. That is the extra information. Now, I've given you another option there. You wouldn't say these 2 things together there. That's just another option. I come from Yantai, a beautiful seaside town in Shandong province. Again, basic information, extra information. And again, if you do this for every question, you're going well. Yeah, except maybe what's your name? That one you just say, my name is Gavin. Part 3, and even some questions in part 1, you would add a little bit longer information, of course, but that's the basic structure. How often do you use a dictionary? I use a dictionary a few times a day because I am studying for the IELTS exam, and while I am reading or listening, I come across many words I don't know. So again, that's a nice, good length of answer for a part 1 question where you have the basic information, how often, second piece of information here is why. Okay, so for these questions, very simple. Or you can call me Gavin. So like we said, this is what I wanted to get to. So when you have the extra information, that can mean things like an example. Okay, so for the dictionary one, how often do you use a dictionary? Oh, I use a dictionary 3 or 4 times a day. For example, this morning I spent 2 hours reading the newspaper, and while I was reading the newspaper, I had my dictionary and checked a few words. Okay, that would be an example of specifically the last time you used a dictionary and what you used it for. How often do you use a dictionary? I use a dictionary several times a week because I'm studying for the IELTS exam and I need to check a lot of words. So again, that would be a reason why you do that. A more detailed description. In this situation, okay, let's try the dictionary one again. I use a dictionary very often. I have a couple of dictionary apps on my phone, and I have one that's English to English and one that's English to Chinese. So depending on what I'm studying, I'll check the words in these apps while I'm reading or watching TV. Now, adding more information is not much different from a detailed description. So there I'm describing the app. So let's try a different question for this one. What kind of home do you live in? Oh, I live in a 3-bedroom apartment. I live in a large 3-bedroom apartment. I live in a large 3-bedroom apartment in the city centre on the 7th floor. Now, you wouldn't really call them a detailed description because you're still not describing the inside of the house. You're just adding more information about your home. Okay, so if you make sure that for all questions except for this kind of question, you're going to have that 2-part answer. Okay, so the very, very basic answer. Yes, I do. No, I wouldn't. I prefer dogs. That's the basic kind of information you're going to start every question with. Once you've done that, you want to add one of these kind of things. And like I said, in part 3, you might have the basic answer, an example, and then go on to explain with some more information on top of that because you want your answer to be even longer. Okay, so for the time being, let's move on to the next thing we're going to look at, which is, hold on, the starting grammar.